Good afternoon, I'm Rob Boskamp, and you're listening to South Texas Midday. In response to the Corpus Christi community's concerns about the disposal of euthanized, non-cremated animals at the city landfill, the city manager has instructed Animal Care Services to develop and implement an alternative disposal method for euthanized animals when the facility's cremation unit is out of operation. KRIS previously reported that Corpus Christi Animal Care Services was disposing of euthanized animals at the landfill. Citygate, the contracted consultant evaluating ACS operations, has verified that disposal procedures comply with accepted animal welfare practices nationwide. Moving forward, ACS will implement methods for disposing of euthanized animals, including using the Pet Memorial Center at 1534 Holly Road for animal cremation services when storage capacity is reached. Additionally, ACS is actively evaluating options to replace the facility's 10-year-old cremation unit. After this week's showers and thunderstorms across the Corpus Christi area, Vector Control is actively working to manage mosquito populations across the city. Beginning Monday, they will conduct regular maintenance and target mosquito breeding grounds, particularly areas with standing water. They aim to significantly reduce the presence of mosquitoes and minimize the risk of mosquito-borne diseases. Vector Control places larvicide tablets in stagnant water areas in the afternoon and then sprays for adult mosquitoes in the evening. If the mosquito population remains elevated, the city will continue those efforts. More than 120 organizations across Texas are urging state lawmakers to approve a $100 million investment that would improve access to high-quality childcare. Texas Public Radio's Maria Navarro has the details.
The funding would allow the Texas Workforce Commission to serve more families through its Child Care Services program, which provides scholarships that help pay for child care. The funding has already passed the Texas House in its supplemental budget bill. It's now under consideration in the state Senate. There are around 95,000 Texas families currently on the wait list for a child care scholarship, with a wait time anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. I'm Maria Navarro in San Antonio.
Texas is now the largest state with a statewide school voucher program, and soon it's likely to spend more on school vouchers than any other state. But as the Texas Newsroom's Blaze Gainey reports, advocates say they aren't done fighting the program.
Leaders in the Texas Republican Party are celebrating and patting each other on the back after Governor Greg Abbott signed the bill into law over the weekend.
School choice is now the law of the great state of Texas.
The measure establishes an education savings account program that allows families to use state tax dollars to help pay for private school tuition for their kids.
Gone are the days that families are limited to only the school assigned by government. The day has arrived that empowers parents to choose the school that's best for their child.
Texas joins more than a dozen states that already have a voucher-like program. The idea is popular with Republicans and has been pushed by wealthy political donors. Proponents say the education savings accounts are meant to benefit students with disabilities and those in low-income households. Talking to me on the House floor, State Representative Brad Buckley says he designed Texas' program the same way.
Well, I think it really it prioritizes the students that we know, if you look at the data, need the most options.
Speaking to the crowd at the bill signing, Shanera Morrison says that as a single mom, it'll give her the freedom to choose the best learning environment for her son.
With ESA, it's going to empower families like me, regardless of income, to choose educational opportunities that fits best for their children.
But some research shows that students from low-income families aren't necessarily the ones who benefit from voucher programs. During debate, House Democrats pointed to Arkansas, where state data shows 95% of students in a similar program were already enrolled in a private school or were a first-time kindergartner. In Texas, private school students will make up 87% of those who apply. That's according to the state's fiscal analysis. That's why Democrats, including House Caucus Chair Representative Gene Wu, say the money would be better spent going to public schools. And he says the program will cost the state more every year.
Look, this program is going to be $1 billion the first time, but it's going to be $8 billion the next, and then $10 billion after that. Every single penny of that is money that could have gone to save your local public schools.
There were only 2 Republicans who voted against it. One, Representative Dade Phelan, says the state is putting itself in a bad place.
That's a lot of money for our state budget. And if we ever see a deficit, if we do see an economic downturn here in Texas and nationally, that's a concern for me. Where's that money going to come from?
While the bill is now law, the chair of the Democratic Party of Texas, Kendall Scudder, says they aren't done fighting it.
Texans have a constitutional right to a public education and an efficient public education system. And that is what they are denying from us.
Scudder says on that basis, Democrats may try to take the fight to court.
So if that means that we end up in litigation, then that would mean that it would end up in litigation.
Unless Democrats have their way, the program will be up and running in fall 2026. I'm Blaze Gainey in Austin.
Texas lawmakers are steps away from approving a bill that would prevent governments from enforcing red flag laws. These laws are gun control measures that have been pushed by some as a way to prevent gun violence and suicide. The Texas Newsroom's Blaze Gainey reports those backing the bill, SB 1362, say it protects the rights of law-abiding Texans.
As gun violence has increased, so have calls for states to enact more policies that could prevent it. Currently, more than 20 have red flag laws or extreme risk protection orders. These allow for firearms to be temporarily removed from a person when they're deemed a serious risk of harming themselves or others. But Nick Tuccio with the National Rifle Association says that violates Second Amendment rights.
The NRA staunchly believes that the removal of a person's fundamental, constitutionally protected right to keep and bear arms must occur only through a process that rigorously respects due process and the rule of law.
The Texas bill also creates a felony for enforcing a red flag order against someone in Texas unless the order was issued under Texas law. I'm Blaze Gainey in Austin.
More than 1,000 criminal cases across Texas are being reviewed because of potentially faulty DNA tests. Texas Public Radio's Paul Flav tells us the tests were manufactured over a 10-month period by one of the biggest manufacturers in the world.
The Houston Forensic Science Center is reviewing hundreds of cases after it detected problems with QIAGEN EZ1 and 2 investigator DNA test kits. Center CEO Peter Stout says tests were coming back reading no DNA present when there was, or that it was just one person's when sometimes it was from multiple people.
It introduces a question mark that then the rest of the system has to try and figure out, okay, is this a case that was affected? And if so, what are we going to do about it? Do we need to retest it?
The Texas Department of Public Safety is reviewing around 700 cases at just one lab. QIAGEN is one of the big 3 manufacturers in the world of DNA tests. A QIAGEN company spokesman told NPR they received less than 10 complaints in the U.S. about the tests, but the company declined to say the total number of potentially affected tests, so measuring the true impact of the issue has been difficult to determine. Experts say it's a national problem.
It's a big deal because this is a product that almost everybody uses all across the U.S., really all across the world.
Dan Crane is a professor at Wright University and runs the company Forensic Bioinformatics. He says retesting is necessary if there's enough to retest.
A lot of these evidence samples are going to be low swabs of gun cartridges, for instance, and they had one crack at it, and you just can't go back.
The problem raises serious implications for the justice system. Michael Kessler of Kessler Forensic Solutions, which consults on court cases, says labs could lose evidence that proves the guilt or exonerates a criminal defendant.
Texas is a death penalty state, many others are. Justice is a matter of life and death.
The culprit for the faulty readings was tentatively identified as the pH balance of one of the chemicals used, the MTL buffer. QIAGEN told clients it changed the manufacturing process to fix the issue, adjusting the amount and makeup of the chemical in the cartridge. But private lab Signature Science in Austin, that does testing in criminal cases, said in a letter obtained by NPR that QIAGEN may not have identified all the affected kits, saying its testing was impacted into this year. For defense attorneys like Elizabeth Daniel Vasquez, there's a lot of unanswered questions on what happens now.
That we're going to see a ton of cases where the impact of this is going to be directly clear. I think more likely what we'll see is a whole lot of lack of evidence that nobody realizes was lost in the process.
The work has just begun for labs across the country, says Peter Stout.
It's going to fall on the labs to do the retesting, and no forensic laboratory in the country has resources to keep up with just the work coming in the door, much less the rework potential and the audit that's going to come out of this.
Leaving many court cases in limbo as potential retesting is addressed. In a statement, Lisa M. Wayne, executive director of the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, asked, how many lives have been upended? How many souls languish in prison because of compromised science? I'm Paul Flav in San Antonio.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the weekend. Besides Mother's Day, let us tell you about some other potential plans you might have. Naval Air Station Corpus Christi will have people looking to the skies as it hosts the 2025 Wings Over South Texas Air Show this weekend. The last time NASCC hosted a Blue Angels air show was back in 2019. Tomorrow's show will be open to the public. The air show offers free admission and parking, and no tickets are required to attend. Spectators are encouraged to bring their own chairs, blankets, or any other seating. Tonight, the Brownsville Historical Association will host Historical Happy Hour, celebrating Preservation Month from 5 to 7 p.m. at the historic Alonzo Building at 510 East St. Charles Street. It's part of National Preservation Month, which began as National Preservation Week in 1973. This event is open to the public and for adults ages 21 and older. Those attending can learn about projects the Historical Association has worked on and how they can restore older buildings. Cover is free for association members, $15 when you RSVP, and $20 at the door. You can RSVP by calling 956-548-1313. In sports, due to wet weather this week, the Texas A&M Corpus Christi baseball team's series against New Orleans has got a late start. Last night's game was postponed due to weather. That will now be played Sunday afternoon, with the first pitch currently slated for 1 p.m. In addition, tomorrow's game has been pushed back to start at 2 p.m., with Senior Day festivities still scheduled to take place. Tonight's kickoff contest remains on track for 6 p.m. The series beginning tonight has playoff implications as the Islanders need to outwin Nicholls State this weekend for the final spot in the Southland Conference Championship Tournament. Further information or updates will be made as needed on GoIslanders.com. And in international news, the vast number of sheep in New Zealand relative to the country's human population has long been the subject of jokes aimed at New Zealanders abroad. And it's true, the country is one of a handful in the world that's still home to more sheep than people. But humans are catching up, according to new figures released this week. With a population of 23.6 million sheep and 5.3 million people, there are about 4.5 sheep for each New Zealander, according to government statistics agency data. That is down from 22 sheep per person in 1982, when farming sheep for meat and wool was New Zealand's biggest earner. And that is the latest news and information on South Texas Midday. I'm Rob Boskamp. Your community arts calendar and more is on the way.